I'm going to do the sending it round. That's fine. I'm good to go. I can talk and type while I sort this out, just to share this round. Because I'm just copying and pasting it now. I've done my speechy thing. I'm just sharing it around the.
I've just turned it on, so you've
Discords.
been chatting to thin air, pal. Anyway, hello everyone again. I don't know why I said that like a CBeebies presenter, but that's
Today on Art Attack.
Someone DBS check that man. Oh, that's a good start, isn't it? It's a good start. Anyway, I'm gonna let you introduce this because you picked this. This is your idea, and I've had a long day.
Yeah. So yes, James, we are talking companions today. We're talking mostly about what, like, our favorite companions, what makes a good companion, and some highlights. I'd say some less than average companions too. We'll talk about as well. But yeah, it's all companions.
Yeah. Well.
Sounds like we're about to watch the Sarah Jane Adventures.
Well, what do you think makes it? My chair is unbelievably creaky. Did you hear that? I couldn't tell if it was my chair or my back. Yeah, but anyway, subscribe to the channel, support the channel, so I can buy a new chair, please. Yeah. Anyway,
there's two of us, please. I need a new chair too.
Yeah, I asked first. So companions, what have we got? I don't see. It's the role of the companion. I mean, technically, they're called the Doctor's friends now, aren't they? Remember that? Was that a Chibnall thing, or was that just a general BBC thing? I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with the word companions, because the Doctor has friends that aren't companions.
Yeah, like the Brigadier, the late great Brigadier.
I mean, so that's the other thing as well. We've got to consider how do you class someone as a companion? So
I'd say mainstay for the series. And Christmas specials, because obviously you had Voyage of the Damned. Astrid Peth was playing the role of the companion, but I was only there for the one episode. But I think she did a really good job.
Yeah, but if you go off that logic, then do we start including people that have been in one episode and played sort of similar companion-y roles? Like you could look. I
see where you're coming from.
Like you could look at things like, I don't know, Kinder and Nerys Hughes as Todd.
Yeah.
She basically does most of the heavy lifting as a companion, but she's not a companion. I don't know. Maybe it's like you've got to travel in the TARDIS between different episodes.
Yeah. No, that includes Adam, so he's right at the bottom of the list. So James says the Chibnall era made it like Fast and Furious. The Doctor doesn't have friends; they have fam.
Oh yeah, of course.
Which is a valid point, because the fam thing.
Yeah, you've got sort of Bradley Walsh being Bradley Walsh. Yaz just not really doing anything. Ryan just standing there like being lobotomized, and yeah, it's my family.
Yeah, it's my fam. Oh. That's nice.
I'm glad that's over. It's
you and me both. You never know. With Russell T Davies, he might make a comment about that during the show that we may find out. I don't know. Anything can happen.
I don't think it would be completely unwarranted either, to be honest with you.
Oh no, he'd definitely make a joke. I reckon I could see him making a joke about it at some point this season.
And you know what? Why not? So
the rest of us have.
I don't know how do you define? I mean, a companion, I suppose, is defined by who they are as a person, as well, in terms of, you know, this is. Oh, I don't even know. Like, this is like someone who's brave, determined, all that sort of very surface level malarkey.
Evil Dan.
I mean, you know, obviously. Should we just try and go through each Doctor and try and sort of pick out our ideal TARDIS team? Because like we've got different varieties.
Before we jump into that, sorry, T just said my companion is Will. Can we talk about him?
T, I love you. Okay, I'll let it be said here now in front of everyone. I don't care. T's my boy. And so I'm his favourite as well, which
he
is
is
giving me the
the
validation I
boy.
need for this evening.
Oh yeah,
If I had to
well,
have a companion, I'd pick T. You know,
I was on TikTok live with him the last couple of days, so
but what a weird flex.
yeah, I know. Honestly, it feels like the Chibnall era misunderstood what a good companion is. There's different types of companions, and the different definition is loose and case by case. That's what James said in the chat.
Yeah,
I do agree with him on that one.
I think the companions in the Chibnall era lacked sort of, I don't want to say personalities, but it's true.
Yeah, you look at Ryan, he had no personality, no character development. Really, it was just
a botched lobotomy.
There, yeah.
No, I think that with Chibnall they became more functions than characters. I think he put too much work into characterizing either the Doctor, which didn't really work, or guest characters, that the companions sort of become like sort of almost pillars to hold up the story and do the usual, what is that, Doctor? Where are we, Doctor? I've got chips, Doctor.
Just chime in with that. Yeah, just chime in with the little quip now and then.
Which is what people think. People associate that a lot with the classic series, but you don't get. I think it all depends on the writers, because I don't think you get that much of it. Obviously, there is that element of it, and that that is going to happen. It happens with every companion to an extent, because that's what they are. Therefore, they are our sort of audience surrogate. They're our eyes into things. But I think in terms of that sort of wooden quality, you don't get that, because at the start, we'll go right back to the start now with Ian, Barbara, and Susan. I think I would argue that Ian and Barbara are the most important companions the show's ever had, because they're the people that changed the Doctor into who we know now, rather than the sort of eccentric, sort of doddery old, looking at things because he's bored and stuff, and not really sort of almost amoral. They teach him how to be the Doctor that we know now. Because the Doctor, if you look at the William Hartnell at the start compared to when the chase, when Ian and Barbara leave, it's a different character, really.
Yeah, no, it's there's a lot of development in there, and you bring out they brought out this adventure side of the Doctor, which obviously is all we've known, in effect, apart from early days Doctor Who, very early series 1. And if they hadn't had that, then we'd never have the show that we have now in it at all.
Yeah, I think I've got a lot of love for Ian and Barbara. Susan, not so much. I think Susan was there. I mean, she's the Doctor's granddaughter, because they thought it would be a bit creepy if this sort of old bloke was just going around with a teenager in his TARDIS. So it's a bit dodge.
In a small box, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that she doesn't really get a lot to do character-wise. She's the one that they have to rescue. She's the one that has the sort of strange, quirky powers when the story demands them, like when she's telepathic for a couple of weeks in the Sensorites and stuff. I think that Susan, for me, gets better when they bring her back with the Eighth Doctor in Big Finish, when she's a bit older, and she's lost David and she's got her own son. That's when she's at her strongest. But in the TV series, I find that initial TARDIS team is so much better when Susan is replaced by Vicky.
Yeah, and Susan screamed a lot, Dan said as well.
This is true. It's a bit annoying.
There was a lot of screaming.
And she's not that good an actress. I mean, she's got better, since then, obviously. But at the time, I just don't know if that sits well with me, I'll be honest. But I think, when Susan goes and Vicky comes into it, it feels more organic. They get on. You have more scenes of them like in the TARDIS, just you living in it. You got sort of, I think there's the start of the chase where Ian's listening to his music and Barbara's, she's doing something with a cloak. I don't really know. And Vicky's sort of wandering around and trying to sort of get in on everyone's nerves a bit, but it doesn't feel forced. And I just think that they're a stronger team.
Yeah.
And then they obviously leave. Then you have Stephen, who I think if more of Stephen's stories existed, I think he'd be much higher regarded. I think it's just because people haven't seen much of him. The stories that do exist aren't his strongest, bar the Time Meddler. The other ones that exist in full are the Gunfighters and the Ark. And the Gunfighters is just like a sort of drug-induced comedy. And the Ark has got a great twist in it, but the rest of it, it's a story that has a security kitchen. Like, what's that about? Apart from the obvious budgetary issues.
Yeah, it is a shame that there's not more of the early years available now. I do think they are trying their best to recover as much as they can.
Yeah, I think it's got to that point now that if anything else was going to turn up, it would have turned up by now. You know, you're not going to find much else
Yeah.
now. It sounds morbid. The only way you're going to get stuff now is if people have sort of private collections that they don't know what they're worth, and they sort of pass away, and their family sort of go, "Oh, we'll just sell this all on," and somebody who knows what they're doing with it goes,
it's the entire set of the Dalek Master Plan. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that would be. I don't think we'll find anything in complete form again now. I think it'll be sort of the occasional episode you get like this sort of, I don't know, like Fury from the Deep Part 3 or something. Like, you know, we won't get a full story anytime soon unless there's people out there that are just holding it back for. Because do you remember when there was that rumor knocking around about 2-3 years ago that they were a load of them had turned up, pretty much all of them bar like a handful of episodes here and there. You know, sort of about 85 of the 97 or whatever it is were found in the Middle East, and they were being used as bargaining tools or something, as in like a political strategy.
Yeah,
like, people genuinely ran with that. They thought that was real, and I'm sure that there's other things that they could barter with other than Doctor Who from the 1960s. But
yeah, I don't think they're going to get far with. I mean, if they were coming after us and stuff, then I'm fairly certain we'd bite. But they're not. So
yeah, but can you imagine going? Can you imagine going? Hey,
more important thing.
You will back down and you will give us your codes to the nukes, or we will set fire to the space pirates. Like, keep that, mate. Nobody's asking for that back in a hurry.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're sidetracking already. So Stephen and Vicky, and then Vicky goes, and you get sort of that weird phase where you have Katarina, who people think is companion, despite her only being in like 4 episodes and dies, and then you get Sarah Kingdom, who literally is only in the one story and dies. And I do like the pairing of just the Doctor and Stephen on their own in the massacre, because they spend a lot of the time apart in it. But there's that great scene at the end, which is missing, and I'd love for just if I could have one part of an individual story back, I'd love the massacre part back, just to see that scene at the end where Hartnell's big monologue about how everyone leaves and everything and how he might go, and then Stephen stumbles back in chasing Dodo, and Dodo not that fond on. Her accent changes way too much. It's like one minute she's a Scouser, then she's talking in RP, and then she's sort of a weird cross between the two.
Yeah, I get you.
And she's another one I think there's just not enough to view. She wasn't there for that long anyway, really. And the stuff that she's got in the gunfighters in the Ark, and that's it really.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of missing stories, but none of them really stand out as classics to me. The War Machines is good, but she has like one of the worst exits ever, because she just goes away off screen to be dehypnotized, and then Ben and Polly are like, "Oh, she's gone. Yeah, she says bye. She says see you later."
Yeah, it's a bit lackluster, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and the first Doctor, Ben and Polly, are an underrated trio as well.
Yeah. Yeah, first Doctor and Polly was a really good mix.
Yeah,
to be honest, I really enjoyed that.
Better with Troughton. I think that's just because they all got on much better. But I think the characters do work quite well. But anyway, first Doctor, what are we saying is your favourite team?
It has to be the original team for me. Despite the fact Susan isn't as strong as she could have been as a character, the stuff with Barbara and
Ian?
Mr. Chesterton, Ian, there we go. Stuff with Ian and Barbara was just brilliant. They brought out so much of the Doctor, and they made the Doctor better, a better person, a better being. And I think that's an important part of being the Doctor's companion, is you need to help the Doctor overcome the issues they're going with, but also in like making them a better person.
Yeah.
Or like you saw it with Rose and Eccleston in Dalek, where she points out that how is the Doctor any worse than the Dalek for wanting to kill the Dalek, and that arc where the Doctor's progressing on, realizing he's better than he was. You can't have that without Rose, and yeah.
Yeah, no, I get you. That I think I would be pedantic and swap Susan for Vicky, just because I'm not that fussed. But I think overall you can't really beat that. To be fair, not that I don't think any of them were particularly bad. I just not that fussed on Susan and the whole grandfather and everything.
Grandfather.
Yeah. What chat, your favourite First Doctor? Is anybody? I don't even know if anyone's even that familiar with it. To be fair, I don't know who's watching. You're doing this is all your bit. I'm just waffling in the microphone.
Yeah. So going on to Troughton, I take it from here. So we start off obviously with Polly and Stephen at the end of
Polly and Ben.
that shenanigans. Holly and Ben. Sorry, I forget. There's been so many companions. It's easy to get.
We're on the bloody Troughton. What are you on about?
But then you go on and he meets the wonderful Scotsman who has a couple of amazing singles out. And again, his name escapes me. I was trying to bridge the gap while I thought of his name. Jamie.
Half asleep today.
Yeah.
There we go.
Jamie, that's the one.
I think you don't really think of the Second Doctor without Jamie. He's there for all the stories except Power of the Daleks. And I do love the combo of Ben, Polly, and Jamie. But the thing is, though, at this point, Jamie's still a late addition to everything. You know, scripts have just been hastily rewritten to include him in some way, and he doesn't really get that much to do until Ben and Polly leave.
Yeah.
And then I think the idea of having Victoria as a sort of a Victorian, I've never noticed that. She's called Victorian. She's from the Victorian era. Mad. Anyway, the Victorian era sort of orphan, and having the Doctor and Jamie as her like sort of surrogate gay dads.
Yeah.
Was an interesting brilliant dynamic. I think the stories with Victoria in are some of the best, and she does get some great scenes, to be fair. But she's another sort of Susan-esque. I'm just a young girl, so all I can do is scream. But I think that scene where she talks about her father to the Doctor, and he talks about his family and Tomb of the Cybermen, is one of those scenes that people always bring up for good reason. And I think that I like how that hints at her and Jamie having a bit of a romance throughout. Like it's nothing like overt at all. It's just subtle, tiny things. And in Fury from the Deep, it's not a case of, which was a case for the majority of classic series exits, going right. Well, I'm off. This is a bit of a shock, but I'm going.
It's been fun, but I want to go back to my normal life now.
Yeah, but they build to it. She's sort of in Fury from the Deep. She's terrified out of her mind, and she's sort of saying to Jamie, "I don't know how long I keep doing this. I want to have a family that I can settle down somewhere and stuff." And it, she gets that with the family in Fury from the Deep. So it's a good. I think overall as an arc, it's quite good for the time. I'd argue it was almost the first companion arc, really. And the stories in there are pretty much like all belters, let's be honest. That 5th season where it's the base under siege stuff, and this classic.
It's great. My favourite episodes from Troughton era, though, is always going to be the Tomb of the Cybermen. That's going to be my go-to for Troughton. Oh, that or War Games. Tomb of the Cybermen has it over War Games just because it's that bit shorter. But they're both really strong stories. And Victoria and Jamie do really well in both. I think. Anyways.
Yeah, Victoria does amazing in the War Games, considering she's not in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, for the bit she is in.
Victoria is not in the War Games, pal.
Oh, dude, shut up. I'm half asleep, okay? I've had a long day. I've been in a workshop, and my ears are still ringing. So...
Tom has made door. Tom is tired.
Yeah, I am.
Anybody want to come on and join me and talk about this, like, because they actually know the program, or just? I'm joking. I'm not sacking you yet. You're too good money. You're worth the price for the entertainment value alone. No. What was I saying? Yeah, Tomb of the Cybermen is great though, to be fair, and I think at this point, the Doctor Who has got 2 companions from Earth's history. And they both, you never really, obviously you remember it and stuff, but they don't. It's not like a failed sort of. You don't feel like it's constantly being dumbed down to explain. I think it makes them asking questions a bit more organic because they're not going to know all of this. But then when they're in the far future, it doesn't really matter. But the sort of contemporary stuff. Not that there's much of it in the Troughton era, but it does. I think it does help to have people that are going to be a bit sort of like, what the hell is all of this? Like, we've only just discovered the wheel. That's a bit of an exaggeration. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I do find it a bit more annoying when the companions come in knowing exactly what to do, because it's just. I think the only exception I'd have is River Song.
I think I'm not bothered about that. See, I think as long as there's it's a bit of a catch-22 because they're either, if they're super intelligent, they shouldn't be asking the Doctor any questions. But I think nobody's going to know everything about everything, do you know? And, you know, it brings us quite nicely on to Zoe, to be fair, because Zoe's a sort of, you know, she's from the future. She's quite clever when it comes to computers and electronic stuff. But then there's all sorts of other things that she's not going to know because she wouldn't. And I think if I had to pick, my TARDIS team for the second Doctor is Zoe and Jamie, I think, if I just pips it.
Yeah, I'd probably say the same.
And I think Zoe does great in the war games. Anyway.
Yeah, Zoe does do incredible in the war games. They look the same. That's fine.
I mean,
black and white don't help.
Did you actually just fart on a live stream?
I thought it was quiet. I am so sorry.
You could just mute your microphone. You know what I mean? I'm so sorry, everyone. The people are probably having their dinner now. There's no point muting it now. The damage is done, pal.
I do apologise for that one. Matt says I should be exterminated.
I wholeheartedly
moving
agree.
on.
I wholeheartedly
moving
agree.
on.
I don't know where we move on from that, to be honest, pal. John Pertwee. So this is a bit different now because we've got all the. Oh, sorry, Liam's being desperate here. He said he was listening in the car. He's just texted me this. He's not even put this in like the chat. He's genuinely texted me saying that he was listening in the car and he said nothing about me hating Ryan. Can't be asked. Sorry, Liam.
Oh,
thank you for also agreeing with us.
Yeah.
Can you feel the massage of your ego there? I'm joking, Liam. We love you, friend of the show. He also hates Ryan, to which we agree.
Yeah, we don't like Ryan.
Normal programs will now resume. So yeah, with the John Pertwee era, you get the inclusion of the unit stuff, and I think the unit characters we could probably do our own video on. So maybe we'll just look at Liz, Joe, and Sarah, because otherwise this will get too long, and I'm already getting hungry. I think Liz is great. I think there should have been another sort of regular. If you had to, and with the time they probably would have been another girl sort of asking questions and stuff, because Liz is too clever by half, and that's the reason they got rid of it, because they thought, well, we can't have another scientist because then they're too, they're almost on equal footing. But I do like Liz. I think Series 7 is quite underrated. It's not one I've watched in a while, to be fair, and I think we're quite interested in sort of saving. There's certain seasons I am saving for like collection sets and things.
You're really loving them collection sets. I do love coming over and just watching the add-on stuff.
They are at absolutely the end. Beautiful.
They are brilliant.
And it's a bit, you might question the steepness of the cost of them, but I think for the cost of what you get and the way that the amount of effort and the way that they're produced, I think if that cost,
it's worth every penny.
If it was like 80, 90 quid a season, I would still buy it and just live off beans.
Yeah.
Which, from the sounds of it this evening, Tom's doing that anyway.
Funny. So yeah, Pertwee and Liz. I'd say she's one of the more underrated ones for his era. You tend to think of Pertwee with Joe or Sarah Jane more than Liz, I'd argue.
Yeah.
And Dan was saying earlier that there should be justice for Liz Shaw, and I do agree with him. They did kind of do it a bit dirty, but then, yeah, it is what it is. I get where they're coming from with not wanting to have another scientist straight off the bat.
I think as well, because they're introducing a new Doctor, you sort of have to establish him as the, he is the main character at the end of the day, and I think when. You could easily, and I would have. The thing is with Liz, I'd have liked to have seen her sort of like the unit boys. She could easily just come in and out of different things. I'd have loved to have seen it on TV. Maybe here pop up in stuff like the Demons or like the Green Death and things, and have her sort of come in and out a bit more, and not just have her sort of. Oh, she's gone back to Cambridge. We never see her or mention her again. I think I'd have really liked to have seen her just pop in and out and stuff. Even not just with Pertwee. Just have her every so often when the Doctor needs. She's sort of like the Kate Stewart of her day, and have her in and out of different things when you need someone. I just think that would have been quite nice. But obviously Joe Grant, Joe Jones is my favourite Pertwee companion. Like you said, she is the one that when people think of Pertwee, they often think of her the most, and I think that's for good reason.
Yeah.
She's the longest serving out of the three of them. She was there for 3 years, right in the middle of his era when, and I think she is such a great. And Katie Manning's just such a legend anyway. You can't help but love Jo.
Yeah, no, she is such a lovable character on screen, and again, it's another companion that makes the Doctor better.
Yeah, because he's very initially there's a bit of not frostiness, but I think the Doctor's just like, I don't need another assistant, I'm fine. And Jo comes in and she's sort of messes up his experiment. But by the end of it, it's quite devastating to see when they have the wedding and she does sort of drive off into the distance and things. Everybody drives off into the distance and leaving her there, and there is that. It is quite sad. It's a proper emotional goodbye, and I think she has some great moments throughout. And she's always one that people have been like, if you're gonna get someone back, get Katie Manning back as Jo. And are you taking the piss? Are you taking the piss? Do you know what the thing is? Sorry. It's fine because it's fine because I can mute him from here. And he's probably still talking to me now, and no one can hear him because he's probably just farting his way through everything like the absolute ogre that he is. So I'm just going to give him a minute to clear his bowels, and hopefully we'll come back and he'll be there like a whoopee cushion. I think he's back now.
Okay. I apologise again. Matt says, have we seen the pictures of Sean Pertwee dressed up as the Doctor?
I have.
I haven't, so you have to send them over.
I will text you him now because it is uncanny the way Sean Pertwee looks like John when he's dressed up. It's my internet's taking a while here. Yeah, I think with what was I saying? Yeah, with Sarah, with Jo rather, there's another arc there. She brings up the best in the Doctor, and she becomes much more confident by the end of it. And
yeah,
they like you said, they learn from each other. But I think Sarah and the Third Doctor, I think, is an underrated duo. But I think because Sarah and the Fourth Doctor are just so like iconic, it's difficult to compare them. I mean, they do have some great bits, I think he's just.
Oh my god. Wow.
It's scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I literally while I was waiting for you to send me that, I literally just touched onto Twitter. There's an image of the Doctor wearing in 3 carnations wearing the same burgundy jacket. Well, not the same, but a similar look. So you had Pertwee in his burgundy, then you had Capaldi, and now you got Shooty in the newly revealed. Yeah, it's mad.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, getting distracted.
That's not like us at all.
No. But yeah, no, I think Jo is definitely the strongest out of Pertwee's companions. I kind of feel Sarah Jane didn't have enough time with Pertwee before he became Baker to really contend with Jo in that respect.
No, I think with it being just that one series, and there's quite a bit of the Doctor and Sarah get separated in it as well. But I think they do have quite a nice. I think when in that last series, Pertwee brings out a bit more of the humour because I think he knows he's going and he can just relax now and have a bit of fun. And I think that I wish I'd seen a bit more from him. There's stuff in Invasion from the Dinosaurs is great where he's in that first episode and he's making jokes when he's having his mugshots taken and when everyone's interrupting him later on and he's just got his head in his hands and he's just sort of going a bit mental. There's some really nice scenes between the Doctor and Jo, and I think there's the Doctor and Sarah rather, and it's a really strong regeneration as well with Sarah and the Brigadier there.
Yeah, it's really nice. Planet of the Spiders was brilliant, and yeah, It was a really strong end to the series.
Oh yeah,
I thought.
It is a good way to bow out. To be fair, it's for considering it was written sort of as a replacement for what the last story would have been, it's pretty good. But moving on to Tom Baker, we have the addition, as well as obviously Tom Baker and Elizabeth Sladen, we have Ian Marter as Harry Sullivan, and I think Harry Sullivan is such an underrated companion. I mean, he's aged like milk in terms of how he speaks to Sarah. Oh, come on, old girl, and everything like that. He's definitely vote Tory, but we won't hold that against him, as he is a fictional character. But I just think there's just something about that trio of, the Fourth Doctor, Sarah Jane, and Harry. I think there's a bit of nostalgia in it for me because I remember seeing quite a few of those stories when I was younger on like UK Gold and stuff, and I remember seeing them quite a bit. And I always thought Harry stayed around for much longer than he did. I always forget that he only did a season, then he pops up twice in the. Well, he leaves in Zygons, and then pops back up in their Android Invasion, which was our first companion return as well.
Oh Christ, yeah.
If you think about it, Harry Sullivan was the first one they properly, apart from like excluding like unit characters and stuff, and multi-doctor.
Yeah,
well, no, we hadn't even had any companions back for multi-doctor stuff yet either. So I think it's just because I think they realised the only reason they had Harry was because they were looking to cast an older Doctor, and then they cast Tom Baker, and they were like, well, we don't really need Harry to pick up all the action stuff. I know they did regret writing him out, but then we get the iconic duo that is the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane, and I don't even think we need to discuss that because it is just sort of the pinnacle of itself. Classic Who. Without that, you wouldn't have had Sarah Jane Adventures and things, because it was Doctor Who was like top of the ratings and everything then, just because of the chemistry those two had. And I think you can tell why Tom was a bit frosty when she left, because you can tell that there is a genuine like friendship between them on and off screen as well.
Yeah,
I think they've got some of the best chemistry of classic Doctor pairings. You like we said that time, you think of.
Yeah, and they're definitely the standouts, and like you can see just how much fun they had working on set together. Like they really enjoyed what they were doing together with that, and it translated perfectly to the screen. So I can't fault it. I think of classic Who, that's my favorite duo overall. Like as a whole, from Doctors 1 to 7. Like. No, God, no. Have you switched your mic off? I don't know. Don't know. Have you switched your mic off? What were you saying? Oh, this so Leela comes in at a rough point for Tom Baker, and again, it's one of those things where Baker's feelings kind of make it onto the screen a bit with how he treats Leela on screen. You see it in the Horror of Fang Rock, quite a bit. He kind of doesn't treat her the best. But I think that's down to the fact he's just still a bit upset that Elizabeth Sladen's gone. But he does pick up with it eventually, and he does get better.
Yeah. I think it's back working. I have no idea what happened there. But
okay,
fair play, Tom. Just thanks for letting me know. Otherwise, I'd have carried on there. But no, what I was saying about Leela is that like you said, you do get that sort of, there is that frosty edge between them for a bit, and then they do become very close, and they're very close now in real life. But in terms of like companion, like Leela is there taking on like sort of the action scenes and stuff, which is great for a female character. But then you look at the unfortunate side of they dressed her in a leather bikini. You know, she's barely wearing any clothes any of the time, apart from like sort of horror, Fang Rock, and Talons are wearing Triang. But the rest of it, if they're on a studio, you know, they're just like, oh, stick this leather leotard on, will you, love? Cheers. And that's feminism.
Yeah, it's nice to see the way female stars have been treated on Doctor Who has come a long way.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything. It's always been a property of its time, really. Like, you know, they do stuff that you
like
wouldn't
everything
do now.
else. Oh, 100%. But
even when they are dressing Leela
nice
up in a bikini and things, she is still taking on the action scenes. She's still quite capable, despite her limited knowledge of what's going on half the time. So, and obviously K9 is introduced as well. Everyone loves K9. Yeah. I don't really know what else to say on K9, to be honest.
Matt says Leela's costume was something for dads watching the show.
That's essentially all they did. It was like, this will get the dads watching after the sport. We'll stick Louise Jameson in this. I don't even know. It is just a leather bikini, really, isn't it? It's like a leather one piece
and lesbian mums, he adds.
Yes.
Okay, Matt.
Well, I mean, he's not. I don't think they were catering to lesbians that much in 1970s Doctor Who, but we're going to go with it anyway. Yeah, and then obviously K9 we spoke about there, and then we get to Romana. The Doctor's on equal footing because there's a Time Lord in the TARDIS that isn't him as well, and they start off quite well. I love the sort of banter between them, but by the end of it, Mary Tam's incarnation, the first Romana, or the first Romana we see on screen, rather, but we won't get into that. She just sort of becomes very typical companion by numbers. Like, you're right, she's quite capable in some respects, but then she is also getting kidnapped and tied up, and the Doctor has to come and save her and things. So, which is a shame, because I do prefer Romana 1 to Romana 2, which is a bit of a hot take for a lot of people, because I know people are quite fond of Lala Ward, but I just really like Romana 1 and Mary Tam. But yeah, I think doing the one season, the keep time, it makes it feel very contained, and I just wish we'd had just one more year of it, maybe.
It would have been nice, but
and then we get Lala Ward as the second, or
Romana 2.
Yeah, who
I haven't watched a lot of the stuff with Romana. Personally, I'm getting to it. It's on a long list of stuff I've got to watch, but I think it's. The Romana stuff is in the next couple of bits I need to go over. But
I mean, you just need to watch all of it, really.
From what I have seen, the character is great. Personally, it does a lot for the show. But I'm not going to make a comparison on which Romana is better, because I don't have the knowledge to go off on it. So
that's fair. I mean, I think the general consensus is Romana 2, but I would say Romana 1. There is that weird sort of there is with Romana 2. It's difficult to judge because it depends how Tom and Lala are getting on at the time, because obviously they famously were married for a short period of time after meeting on the show, and they were married during the time they were on there, and it didn't last long. Or did they marry just after he left or something? But they were definitely an item by the time they both left, you know. But they would often have quite sort of heated arguments while, you know, between scenes and stuff, and you could tell that there are scenes where they'll go from one shot and they're talking to each other fine and everything, and then you'll cut to a different shot then, and they're standing at opposite ends of the room to each other because they can't bear to be around each other. And I think it does spill into it a bit, but I think I just prefer Romana 1 as a character. Romana 2 has been, you know, I think been greatly developed as well in the expanded media, becoming president of the Time Lords and everything, and it's she's another one that I think that is an obvious choice to bring back at some point, maybe. Not necessarily Romana 2, but just maybe just Romana in general have a new companion, a new act to play here. But yeah, I mean that's my general
there's
thoughts.
even scope to bring her back again, potentially.
This is what I mean. They could have her as a new incarnation and just say, "Oh, I'm Romana," and just
Yeah,
crack on. You know, it's something that, and it'd be quite a good like reveal as well.
it'll be a lovely callback if they do go ahead with it in the next seasons to come at all.
Yeah, whether
It'd
they
be
will or not, I don't
interesting.
know. I mean, I feel like Gallifrey and New Who is just something that is very
Taboo.
contrived. Um,
Yeah,
and then obviously we go into when before Romana leaves, we have the addition of Matthew Waterhouse as Adric, who
yeah.
is not one of the best, but Matthew Waterhouse just seems like such a lovely guy, and I like what they did with Adric, but it just for
I
me
loved
just didn't really work.
I loved Adric. I loved Adric with Tom Baker.
Yeah, he's
Uh
so much better with Tom.
yeah, he is a lot better with Tom. Uh, I just don't know what it was with Peter Davidson and Adric. I and Matthew Waterhouse. I just don't know what it just I don't know what wasn't clicking there, but there was something noticeably missing between the two.
Yeah, I think it's
I just
just
can't put my finger on it.
I think it's by that point they sort of giving the priority Tegan as the sort of lead companion. Not that there's any leads, but you know what I mean. Like he doesn't really.
Yeah,
And I think when people, because this brings us on nicely now to when we have the sort of trio of Adric, Nyssa, and Tegan.
yeah,
I don't get the whole when people say it's an overcrowded TARDIS. There shouldn't have been that many, but Doctor Who's done 3 companions in the past before, and they've balanced it perfectly. I think it's just the people who were writing for them couldn't get their head around it. Like, I mean, you look at stuff with Ian Barbara and Vicky, or Ian Barbara and Susan, whatever. They don't really. There's not really times. All right, sometimes you do, but that happens regardless. I don't really. No one was sat there going, "Oh, there's too many people in the TARDIS. There's too many people in the TARDIS." You know, it's just sort of a complaint that just gets leveled at Series 19. But I have a lot of nostalgia for that like team of Davison, Janet Fielding, Sarah Sutton, and Matthew Waterhouse because they're, you know, I watched sort of The Visitation, Castrovalva, Earthshock, Kinder, like anything from season 19. I think I've watched like to the point where I know it word for word because they were one of the ones that they were sort of the first ones to come out on DVD, and I had them on video. Well, my dad had them on video, and they'd be on UK Gold and stuff. So I have a lot of nostalgia for them, and I think as characters, they all work quite well. I think they're all quite different. You've got Adric, who's the sort of sees everything very statistically and logically and things, and has a bit of a tendency to side with the villains at times. And then you have Nyssa, who's the scientist who's just trying to, you know, make a difference. And then you get Tegan, who's the sort of bossy gobshite of the TARDIS crew, but in a good way.
yeah.
And they all contrast
See,
quite well. And I think having that sort of not argument, but you know, the conflict between them makes them feel a bit more real because you don't get,
yeah,
you know, people that are stuck. At the end of the day, these people have been forced together as well. Really, um,
mm,
they're not going to get on 100% of the time. It's just unrealistic. So I think to have that bit of conflict does do wonders in terms of the characters. You know.
yeah. For me, the reason this holds nostalgia. Do you remember when they brought out the DVDs as part of the newspapers and stuff? So that you'd only get like random
Yes, I do.
episodes just thrown into it, and it wouldn't make sense. The first episode on the one I watched was Earthshock for part 1, and I think a couple ones down the line they got Earthshock part 3. I never saw Earthshock part 2 until it came onto BritBox, but that was the first trio I remember seeing fully, but it's the one that got me hooked just before the revival.
Yeah, I mean, I watched
Or around the
Earthshock was one of
revival.
the first ones that I've seen, and I think when you sort of point people in the direction of Classic Who to go, go and watch like 626 episodes or however many it is, and you know some of them are missing, some of them are in black and white, some of them are on shoddy video quality, but that's the only way they exist and stuff. It's quite daunting to start from the beginning, so I think pointing people towards things like Earthshock is a great way. All right, you do lose that sort of spoiler and stuff, but I don't think it really matters in the grand scheme of things. But
As well.
yeah, anything from the 80s, I think is a good. Anything from sort of 80s and 70s is just like the golden
Good
era
starting
stuff. Is
point.
to just pick up, not necessarily towards the end of the 80s, but Davison era stuff. You know,
Yeah.
a couple of McCoy ones and
Hell,
things.
even some of Baker's as well. I'd probably go for.
I don't know if I point them out straight away. Maybe in terms of like the format, because they, you get 2 45-minute episodes, which is equivalent of like a new two-parter, but they're not very representative of classic Who. They're very weird. I'm not a fan of the Six Doctors era on telly much.
Oh yeah, no. I wasn't on about that Baker. I was on about Tom Baker.
Oh right.
Sorry, I should have specified. Yeah. Yeah, no, I didn't mean Colin Baker. I forget there's 2 Bakers. Yeah, Tom Baker. I direct people towards Tom Baker. Colin Baker is he just kind of got done a bit filthy on screen.
Yeah,
it seemed.
But obviously, Adric gets blown to bits in a really. If you
and fairly emotional.
It is quite emotional, but at the same time, he's a bit of an idiot.
It's a relief.
Because he jumps out of that escape pod to go and crack a logic code, and the Sideman blows it to bits anyway, so he can't do it. And then he's just stuck there. And it's like, mate, this ship was going to crash into Earth anyway. You could have just saved that escape pod and lived. But
yeah,
it's very on brand for him anyway.
Death.
But obviously we get those like a couple of stories with just Tegan and Nyssa, and I think 3 cast members is a magic number. I think 4 can be a bit too many at times. Depending, I think 3 is quite a nice easy number to write for. You have the Doctor and 2 companions. And I think it works quite well, especially with Davison. You get, and especially with how close Tegan and Nyssa are anyway. I think it does work, and then they obviously then bring Turlo on board, which is, I think, probably the most original idea for the companion they've done, apart from sort of like K9 and Chameleon and things. To bring on. Here's a guy that's going to travel with the Doctor, but he also wants to kill him, but he's also a bit useless at doing that. He has multiple opportunities and fails every single one of them. Which I think is the funniest thing. I get most of enjoyment out of going back and watching it, because I love the Black Garden trilogy. Terminus is a bit shit, but Mordred and Dead and Enlightenment are fantastic. I mean, everybody knows how much I love Enlightenment, but it's just the fact that over the course of those 3 stories, Turlo gets multiple opportunities to either strand the Doctor somewhere or kill him or injure him, and he fails every single time. Sometimes in almost slapstick ways, when he picks up that rock at the end of Mordred and Dead Part 1 and the thing blows up, and that polystyrene rock just bounces down the guard. And you're like, I don't think that would have killed him, because it's like a basketball. It's just boing boing. But I think it's nice for him to get a bit of an arc as well, and to have him redeemed by the end of Enlightenment, and still have Tegan very unsure of him for quite a while, really. And I don't think she ever stopped. I don't think she ever really fully trusted him.
No, it is one of my favourite arcs from the Davidson era. I think is the Black Guardian arc.
Yeah, I mean, I love all the Davidson stuff, really, by the old, time flights and your Warriors of the Deep and stuff. But on the whole, I think it's most consistently, apart from maybe Tom Baker's and John Pitt. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to. Right. Anyway, we're talking about companions here. What are we on about? But I think and they do a great thing with Big Finish as well. It's just after they deal with the Black Guardian and everything, they meet Nyssa when she's much older. So Nyssa hasn't seen them in all like 40 years, but for them it's been like, a couple of days.
And
she starts traveling with them again, and that's a really cool dynamic, because they sort of pair Nyssa and Turlo up quite a bit as well, and Nyssa becomes a sort of mediator between Tegan and Turlo, and the Doctor and Tegan and stuff. So it works quite well. Obviously, then we have the regular sort of leave quite quickly, in quick succession, because obviously Tegan goes, and you get the 5th Doctor and Turlo, and then they bring Perry on, and then Turlo leaves. And I think Perry and the 5th Doctor is quite nice. It's something that they've expanded on a lot in Big Finish as well, because obviously they only get Planet Fire, Case of Understanding, and then Davison goes. But I think it's a nice dynamic between them. I think because compared with Colin Baker and Nicola Bryant, which even though they are obviously very good friends and everything, and they get on very well off screen, on screen I'm not fussed on Perry and the 6th Doctor at all. I can't. The bickering gets. I know I said before, the bickering makes it quite real, but at this point it just gets to a point where you just don't. You like it, at this point Nyssa would. Oh fuck! I can't even keep up with what I'm saying. At this point, Perry would just be like, right, wherever we go next, I'm gone. You know what I mean? Like they turn up in the 2 Doctors and they're in space. She's like, do you know what? This'll do. This'll do. I'll stay here. Because you wouldn't put up with that much nonsense from your friend, like.
Yeah, and I do think that the dynamic between the 2 was horrendous, and it could have been so much better. It should have been a lot better.
Yeah, and I do like how they mellow them out again from Trial of a Time Lord, and the Doctor is genuinely distraught at what happens to Perry. where she supposedly dies, not where she goes off and marries Brian Blessed. That's a whole other thing. And it's a great.
Yeah, it's a nice
great
little
stuff.
redemption bit.
You know, you see them walking around
I'd say.
Ravlox at the start where they're, arm in arm and joking with each other and stuff, but it's not, they're still ripping into each other, but it's much more friendly. It's not as aggressive as it was.
Yeah, it's like what you and I do on a Saturday night. When on the rare occasion I come out
day.
On the daily. Yes.
And just send you messages of hate-filled bile.
Yes.
And then we get the very brief pairing of the Sixth Doctor and Mel, which I know I'm going to keep ringing this Big Finish bell, and no one's going to stop me. Which is something that they did wonders within Big Finish to flesh out the Sixth Doctor and Mel, and they do make quite a great team. But on TV, there's just not enough of them to really pass that much judgment. We get sort of second half of Trial of a Time Lord, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot.
And they kind of do Colin Baker dirty for his regeneration as well. But they make up for it in Big Finish.
Yeah, I think it's just a shame. I don't know if Mel and the Sixth Doctor on TV at that time would have been anything,
magical.
Groundbreaking. But I think she does work a bit better with McCoy though in that first series, because you've got them. They're quite similar in terms of they're both in that series, especially not so much later on. But McCoy's quite, pantomimey and a bit of a joker.
Wacky, yeah.
But
I really like McCoy's Doctor.
Yeah, and he's the one sort of I would have liked to have seen more of just how it develops and stuff, making him go from this sort of goofy clown to this dark master manipulator and stuff. And then, obviously, then the other iconic pairing of classic Who is Sylvester McCoy and Sophie Aldred as Ace.
Ace, yeah.
And
I love Remembrance of the Daleks.
Who doesn't?
Nigel, it's such a good story. I think the Ace and the Doctor. I think Ace and the Doctor are brilliant in it as well.
Yeah, I agree. I just think that they even though they only get 2 series together, I think the chemistry does wonders. Like when we reviewed Silver Nemesis, we talked about this, about how well they just work regardless of what they're doing and what they're given.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a shame they cancelled the series after their second series together. But then you got that really lovely callback in The Power of the Doctor for both Tegan and Davidson, as well as McCoy and Ace. I think that you got that whole thing between Ace and McCoy where I know we've had our issues, but look, that this is a lot bigger than that. Everything's okay between us. It will be, just we need to get this done now. It's a nice way to kind of tie things up a bit.
Yeah, especially because we don't really know what happened. I think it'll be one of those things that we never really know. Might be sort of hinted at here and there and stuff, but
like the fishing trip in Gavin and Stacey.
I mean, I don't think it'd be along those lines, but I get where you're at. I get where you're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the end of the classic era, then, isn't it? Obviously we have Grace and Changley in the movie.
After that, we go on to. Sorry.
I was just saying, in the movie we have Grace, who's fine, and Changley, who's fine.
They filled a role.
Yeah, it's very much just feels like the sort of characters you get, like your Jackson Lakes and your Astrid Peths and stuff. Have your one-off specials.
Yeah, it was nice. It was fun. Do I want more of McGann? Yes. Of them two, not so much.
I think the thing is with McGann, he's just had so many more strong. He's had such strong companions on Big Finish. He's not really had bar as one I can think of, but the rest of them are all they're very good. They're all really strong characters.
I just wish they'd bring some of Big Finish to the screen with McGann as reprising the role of the Doctor. I would
literally
personally
sell my soul for Disney Plus to do like a limited series and just adapt some of his Big Finish stuff.
Yeah. Yes.
I would.
Disney, if you're listening, please. I'd sell my right arm.
I'd sell you.
And that's my shooting arm. Thank you, right? Thank you for selling me to Disney.
I'd just be like, here, you can have him. He's great value for comedic money and stuff, and you can just commission this McGann series, and I think it's a worthy sacrifice, to be honest. Let us know in the chat if you would sell Tom for a Paul McGann series. And on that note, I'm gonna have.
It's nice to know you feel loved, isn't it?
You are loved. It's a weird. Like I said, I wouldn't just sacrifice anyone.
Hang on, you said you'd sacrifice Liam for a bag of chips.
That's a lie. There's no proof in that. Anyway, I'm going to call a quick break because I can have a glass of water and we'll come back and talk about the new series companions. Bye.
Yes, and I'm going to go and have a quick pee-pee. All right, we on break? Okay, I'll be back now in a minute. Oh. Yes. Right, I am back. Hello, so am I. Oh, God. Oh, damn. Oh, well. It's not the worst. It's not the worst thing I've said or done tonight, to be fair. I apologise for farting. I've carried on, but I've been muting. I've actually getting to my mic in time. The first two just crept up on me and surprised me.
Anyway,
Thank
we're
you.
back now.
Yes. Yes, we're back. So, going on to New Who.
Huzzah.
Evil.
I have no idea what you just said. Your dial-up internet failed on you there.
I said the revival.
All I heard was
Like Mel B trying to do an accent.
9 and Rose.
Rose. Yes. I loved Rose with Eccleston. Because you got Eccleston coming off a really, really traumatic time with the Time War. And he's lost everything. And he's in a really rough place. And he's very much like, look,
Did you hear that?
You can come with me. Well,
my microphone has literally just the arm has just like fell off.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Well, that's good. I'm gonna mute it because I'm gonna have to faff around, but keep talking.
That's fine. So yeah, you got the Doctor in a really, really rough place. He's lost everyone. He's lost his family, his friends in the Time War. He's the only survivor at the point where we meet him in Rose, and that's of course where he meets Rose. I think he does an awful lot with her really well. Donna Noble's a queen. Yeah, she is. But Rose is better. So yeah, you mostly see Rose trying to...
Sorry, I have to pause you there. Did you just say Rose is better than Donna?
With Eccleston, well, because I'm talking about Eccleston, yeah. But when I get on to Tennant, then obviously Tennant's best companion is Donna.
I was going to say, I thought that was going to be a written warning there.
Yeah, no. But so for the whole of series 1 of the revival, you've got Rose making the Doctor a better person, realizing it's okay to let his guard down after the Time War and everything. Like, he doesn't have to keep going down that route. There is an alternative, which is a really nice touch, to be honest, because it's the first time we see the Doctor going through anything quite like what he has. And you really see that dynamic come in to play during Dalek, as I mentioned earlier, where the Rose gets in between the Doctor and the Dalek because the Doctor wants to destroy the last Dalek in existence. And yeah, it really is a powerful duo, I think. You still faffing with your mic?
It would help if I muted my microphone, wouldn't it? But yeah, I think Rose is so much stronger with Eccleston, just because she's much more likable. I just think she gets on quite well. Obviously, you have the trio of her and Jack at the end as well, and I think that's a very underrated trio. But yeah, I think as a duo, pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I think it's some of Billy Piper's best work on Doctor Who as a whole.
Yeah, you can carry on talking, by the way. I'm still having to reattach this microphone. It's being a pain in the ass.
But going on to adding Jack into the mix, you see Jack in The Empty Child for the first time. And it's a really nice little one to throw in there, because you got Rose with two guys who quite happily, like, one's a Time Lord, the other's an ex-Time Agent con man. And they both know what they're talking about, and they're basically just playing, my toy is better than your toy the entire time. But the on-screen, the chemistry between the two is brilliant. It always makes me laugh. They work so well together, and what we got of Jack going forward, because he did have obviously the run-ins with David Tennant's Doctor.
Did you say Jack had the runs?
I said the run-ins with David Tennant's Doctor.
Captain Jack has the
runs. But like everything between Jack and the Doctor, I don't care which Doctor he was with. I think Jack and the Doctor was really good as well. Actually, no, that's a lie. Jodie Whittaker, that can just go with the rest of the Chibnall era. But
stay on target, Tom. Stay on target.
Yeah, we're going ahead of ourselves. But yeah, Jack for me is another strong addition to the TARDIS. I really enjoyed what he did. John Barrowman was great. You got the spin-off as well then, thanks to his time on the show with Torchwood. Daniel, I like both Jack's and Eccleston's toys. I don't know what to say to that, Dan. But yeah, you get that nice funny scene in the Doctor Dances where the Doctor switches out Jack's sonic blaster for a banana, and like, for me, I still crack up at that to this day. It still gets me.
It's because it's a good source of potassium, that's why. Yeah, I think
it really is.
Moving on to Tennant, though, I said it before, I'll say it again. Tennant Rose, most overrated companion Doctor ever.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't really need to.
It's just all too smug. It's like, oh, look at us, aren't we smug? And I'm not here for it. They have some great moments, don't get me wrong, and it is a very emotional goodbye.
Yeah.
The rest of it.
Yeah, it is a bit like, look how good we are throughout the whole lot, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm just not that fussed.
No. But then you go on to. So should we do Martha before Donna? Because obviously you got Donna in the Christmas special in between Martha and Rose. Yeah, and then you get Martha, and then
basically a different person anyway.
Yeah. So yeah, you get Donna in the Christmas special, and this is the first glimpse we see of Tennant and Tate's chemistry, and my God, it's probably one of my favorite Christmas specials to watch.
I mean, yeah, I think there were great bits to it. I think at the time I was just sort of like, yeah, it was alright. She's only here for one episode, and then when they said she was coming back, I was like, okay. I mean, fair enough. Boy, was I wrong. But
yeah,
I think Martha, on the other hand, though, is the most underrated companion, easily of the new series, possibly in general.
She's also the worst I think she was the worst treated of the new series as well by the Doctor.
By the Doctor, yeah. I mean, in general, I think that award has to go to Bill.
No, she was great.
But, in terms of well treated by the Doctor, yeah, I just don't get. I don't like the whole. It's still like leftover smugness, really, isn't it? But I think they are, when they have their genuine moments, it is really nice to watch. And I think Martha is easily more capable than Rose any day. If Martha and Rose had a fist fight and you thought Rose would win, I would say you were on crack cocaine, because Martha would batter Rose to within an inch of her life.
Yeah, and I think that scene in Gridlock at the end where the Doctor's talking about Gallifrey and the fact that he's finally opening up to Martha, that for me is the bit that seals her for one of the top companions. It's that scene, like the fact she managed to get him to break down those barriers after everything he'd lost with Rose.
Yeah, I think
sorry,
that scene should have been the bit where the Doctor goes, "Oh, to hell with this one trip into the past, one trip in the future. Why don't you just come with me?" We shouldn't have had to wait till sort of nearly halfway into the series for him to do that, to realise.
Yeah, like the Lazarus experiment's a bit too late in the series for that.
Yeah, it just feels a bit forced now. We were like, oh, we just thought this was the norm. Like, I think, yeah. I don't know. I just think, for me, Martha, Freema Agyeman's brilliant. She, she literally saves. She's the one that saves the world at the end of the day. You know what I mean? She basically helps bring down the Master of all people. She has a great. I think and the fact, like you said, she gets faced with some of the worst shit possible. She's getting just friend zoned constantly, and in quite sort of an obnoxious way. She gets
she gets racially abused in Family of Blood and Human Nature as well. Obviously, it's as it was at the time, but it's she doesn't have a good run really in terms of travels with the Doctor. Her run's a bit like, oh Christ, she could die in any episode. Oh, behave.
Diarrhea obsessed, you, my boy. No, I think they do a great job when they bring her back next to the year after as well, and they make her a bit tougher, a bit again, and a bit harder, and then even in Torchwood as well, when she has that little stint there. I think if anyone was going to be suited to turn up in Torchwood, it's Martha. I know she's obviously, because she's got that relationship with Jack anyway, but I don't really think you couldn't really imagine Donna Noble, as good as she is. You couldn't really imagine her in the hub, could you?
No.
But Martha just fits like a glove, and I think I'd have loved to have. And then it's a shame that scheduling and everything meant that she couldn't, turn up in Children of Earth as
more
a regular.
Yeah, that would have been insane, to be honest.
Yeah. But I do hope we see that if we get this unit spin-off, she's like the sort of front runner for me of who I'd want in it. Like I like Kate Stewart, and I like Osgood and everything, but if
I want more Martha.
Yeah, Martha. Martha is top of my list of companions to come back, especially if we're talking new series. Top of the list. Like you can keep Rose. Obviously, we've got Donna. Donna would be my first choice because I love Donna, but she's already coming back anyway. But I'd have Donna come back before I saw Clara again or Amy or something.
Oh God, yeah.
Which brings us neatly on to Miss Donna Noble.
Yes, as a full-time companion, not just a Christmas special.
Yeah.
Noble Templar she is now. Yeah.
Most
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. This one was the one that brought tears to my eyes.
This gets me more than Rose on a beach crying.
Yeah. The more I've watched this, the more it hit as well. It's not one of those things where you go, oh, I know it's coming, I'll be fine. Yeah. It's like, oh no, this is coming.
Yeah, because they're being separated, but she's also everything that she's learned and how she's grown has just been undone, and she goes back to Donna as we first met her in The Runaway Bride.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking. But I think Catherine's like the comedic.
It's
She does everything. Like she gets stuff like in Unicorn and the Wasp, where there's that scene where the Doctor's poison, which is just what I think one of the funniest moments of the whole show. But then she gets stuff in like Fires of Pompeii, which is like the second episode she's in full time, and that scene at the end where she's like breaking down because she doesn't get why the Doctor can't save everyone, and it sends shivers down my spine. It genuinely like makes the hair in your back. And for someone who's based primarily in comedy to come in and like give up a performance like that could quite easily have won an award.
Yeah,
it is impressive, and I do love that. I got to touch on the little duo, the sort of trio of her and Martha in the middle of the series.
Oh, it works so well. I think it worked really well.
More of that, you know.
Yeah.
And obviously,
you and me both.
But I think that little trio, just for the Sontaran one of the Doctors, I would love to have just seen Martha stay just for one or two more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but like it was just horrible. And then you got that speech with, well, not speech. You got the Doctor talking to Martha's family, Wilf and Sylvia, and he's just saying like there is people who there's civilizations all over the universe that will still be singing her praises and remember her for who she was. And Sylvia's like, oh, she still is that person. And the Doctor just turns around and almost a small little snap of maybe you should just try reminding her of that now and then.
And it's just
obviously he's dealing with everything that he had to do to save her life. But you can see him dealing with the fact I've just done this to my best friend. But there was no other option.
It's perfectly right of him to as well to put Sylvia in her place and be like, well, if she's the most important person in the world, then why do you keep sort of treat her like shit? And I think it's quite interesting to see if that's that, you know, because you can tell there's a bit of that has developed in End of Time. But I think I'd love to see that for the 60th when we know everyone's coming back and everything, to see if Sylvia is a little bit sort of has mellowed a bit
better.
The 50 years since we've seen her.
Nothing against Sylvia as a character. I think she was great. I thought the whole
and it was and I don't hate it. You know, you're there
brilliant.
to feel the way we feel about Sylvia is the way that we're supposed to. You know,
they've done a really good job.
For a break, like, you know.
Yeah, she's doing her best. Like, come on.
Yeah.
But then we come. I mean, we could say we come on to Wilf because he was there for the two-parter of the End of Time, and he did travel in the TARDIS between episodes. I'd consider him a companion.
I mean, he doesn't fit
the Doctor formally.
Wilf.
No, the Doctor formally said, "Welcome aboard." Shook his hand. It counts.
I mean,
it counts. Yeah, it counts.
It works. I mean,
so
it's like a Sarah Jane. I don't think we even need to justify it because everybody watches.
No, Wilf is just there. Yeah. Rest in peace, King.
Yeah, it's going to be a bit heartbreaking when we see him in November.
Don't, because I can already feel the tears coming already. Man, it's bad. And then
we might even see him this weekend.
Don't.
If we get the trailer for
give me hope
on Saturday.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Well, I'm in work, so I'm going to be missing that.
Well, I'll see
it. I'll hopefully catch it on my break. Anyways, going on, because we don't need to say anything about Wilf. Like, the man's a legend.
Yeah.
In the Whoniverse and beyond. So that moves us on to Matt Smith with Amy Pond and Rory. Although at the start, Rory isn't a full-time companion. He's just popping up in episodes now and then. Until about halfway through season 5.
I can't tell you how much I hate the majority of Moffat era companions.
5. They are just irritating, aren't they?
It's like you get. I mean, I like Amy for a bit until she starts like sort of being an adulterer, and I've just got that Kim Woodburn
forcing herself on the Doctor.
Yeah. Like I much prefer Rory when they give him a bit more to do instead of just being the sort of dwindling idiot that he is in sort of series 5 and the first half of series 6. I think after that, I've got all the time in the world for him. He's my favourite Matt Smith companion. Amy is just Amy's just a bit shit.
I thought she started out okay.
Karen Gillan does a great job. You know, it's purely down to the writing. Karen Gillan's a great actress, you know, and she everything that she's given on paper, she absolutely nails. You know, whether she's trying to be, you know, funny or doing the emotional, hard-hitting stuff. It's just a character just on paper I can't get on with. It's a lot of Moffat's one-handed writing.
Yeah, it is a shame. I felt she started off quite strong in series 5, but then it just dwindled and dropped off. They dropped the ball. Yeah, and then it just dropped the ball.
It's just too. It's too much, and I get what they're trying to do. Sort of, you know, the conflict of her being like, "Oh, my imaginary friend is real, and what does this mean for my relationship with my husband to be and stuff?" And then obviously we throw River into the mix.
I just don't think it's. I just don't think it's. Yeah, I enjoyed that story arc where they find out that River was their daughter. I enjoyed that whole part of series 6, which it was the underlying story arc for series 6. To be fair, I did enjoy it. Personally, I just felt that the writing for the actors was a bit meh. River, you can't say anything bad about in terms of writing because they wrote her the same in the Silence of the Library episodes in the Forest of the Dead, and I felt that very much stuck. I felt that River felt the same throughout the lot personally, but
so you're telling me the River that
hey, that's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, are you on crack cocaine? What I mean is, it's that
probably
you get. I like River as an idea, and I like most of her. It's just that when I don't like her. You know, when she's. You tell me that the River that we see, who's in awe of the 10th Doctor and Forest of the Dead, is the same one that's smacking him about in series 5 and 6. You know, and the overly sort of. Not that I'm bothered. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing to show. I just don't think it's very fitting. I don't know. I'm going off money. I just don't really get. I don't do Doctor romances, and I've always said that the Doctor and River is the only one I can.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Stomach, but.
Yeah, I know you can't stand the Doctor romance stuff.
But she goes from like, you know, when she's being more serious and more in control and things, you know, where she's flying the TARDIS and stuff is fine. I can do with that. But what I can't do is when she's all like, "Oh, that's not the first time we've met, is it?" Wink, wink, nudge. She's like a carry-on character.
Yeah.
And I think it's just
I get where you're from.
You know, when it's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm quite the screamer." It's like, "Oh, just get on with it. We've got an alien incursion to deal with here. I haven't got time for this."
I know. I think the best of her and Matt Smith was the Angels Take Manhattan, and I think their work together was the best part of Angels Take Manhattan, despite the emotional goodbye at the end.
I quite like that it develops their relationship a bit. I think River is obviously mostly associated with the 11th Doctor. I think that there are great, like I said, there are great bits to it, and I like how he reacts with the hologram in Name of the Doctor, where he says like I can always see you and stuff like that. Is that's all really nice, and I like it when she's, like I said, when she's being more in control and it's not all, "Look at me, I am a very flirty lady from outer space. I'm quite the screamer."
Yeah, yeah, because the Name of the Doctor, she was forced to be a bit more serious. Yeah. I think she had that few bit of flirty comments and stuff come up in there, but that end scene where the Doctor's like, "I can always see you." I think that's some of her strongest work with Matt Smith. Yeah. As well as the Angels in Manhattan, and then you get that kiss, and the Doctor's like, "Oh, the others can't see you. I wonder how that looked." That did make me chuckle. To be fair, I will admit.
Written by someone other than Stephen Moffat, because every episode River's in is written by Stephen Moffat. She's not written by anyone else on telly.
Yeah.
I'd just like to have seen another have a crack at it. That sounds awful, but you know what I mean. Have a crack at writing here.
Yeah.
And go from there.
I just got what you said. Sorry. But
the kind of thing
no, the name of the
if this was recorded, but there we
go. Yeah. The Name of the Doctor leads us nicely on to the 11th and Clara, and I could have done without it.
Prefer her here than I do the rest of the time she's around. I like Victoria and Clara. I don't mind her.
Was the perfect send off?
It would have been a perfect send off if they got rid of it at the end of Name of the Doctor.
Yeah.
Instead of just like
going... they could have done the Time of the Doctor as just a Doctor story on his own, just going off, like they didn't really need Clara there for that, I'd say.
I just think that it's not necessarily that. I don't mind her in like Day of the Doctor and Time of the Doctor. It's just that her natural story comes to an end when she jumps into that time stream, and just to have her go, "Don't worry, we've rescued you, and you'll never know how." And we've done a complete 180 on your character now. You're now a multi-control freak and everything, and it's like when we get to like, well, now it's just going to lead into it anyway. But her and Capaldi, I just get in the bin. Do you know what I mean? Get in the fucking bin.
Especially how he treats her at the start, because it's very noticeable. He just treats her like crap. But then,
she's
there are
she's
moments where he
like...
treats her well. It's very. But then, it's a very toxic relationship on screen, isn't it?
It's not one-sided. Like, she's not exactly great to hit you, calling him a big grey stick insect and stuff, and calling him old man all the time. You know, when he's only in his 50s, like, at the end of the day, I've got Capaldi anyway.
If I look half as good as him, when I'm in my 40s, I'll be happy.
If I looked half as good,
I'm starting to get the grey hairs. I'm starting to get the grey hairs. It's bad. That toxic relationship does rate as one of the lowest Doctor companion duos for me. The new series.
I think if they'd condensed it down a bit and had a go at the end of Series 8, or at least at the end of Last Christmas, and not stretch it out for another year and made an entire story. Because, like, you think about it, all the series have some sort of form of big bad, whether it be the Master or the Daleks, whatever. Series 9 is just two people that can't talk to each other. That's the big bad.
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting way of doing it. And I think it's a nice dynamic to show how, like, what if the Doctor and the Companion were really bad for each other, but really sort of struggle to let go of each other. But to drag it out for like 2 series, and to tell it across very mediocre stories as well. You know, I don't think I'd feel half as bad on it as if the quality of the episodes were higher, but because the majority of that series is just middling at best.
Yeah, especially what you get after with Bill and the Doctor as well.
Bill's my favorite Moffat era companion. There's no contest.
And me.
I like Nardole as well.
Brilliant.
I think Bill just is something. It's just it's just an energy that comes into it, because you have all these characters that have been very. It's very. Do you know what it is? What it is about Bill that I quite like is that she doesn't feel like a Stephen Moffat created character. Like, she just feels like an actual human being. She doesn't feel like this sort of walking innuendo machine. She is just. She's just Bill.
It is. Yeah.
I think she's the one.
Brilliant.
I think if we're talking about companions that have been put through the ringer in terms of their time, it's her and Martha. I mean, I think Martha is all right because she at least gets out of it alive, whereas Bill doesn't.
Well, technically, she becomes part of the thing with the pilot.
She becomes like a
in the end, doesn't she?
But Bill, as we know here, is ground down into stuffed inside a Cyberman suit with a big hole in her chest. So
but hey, at the end of the day, World Enough in Time and the Doctor Falls, great 2-parter. It has your emotion. It hits your emotional chords so well. Yet you still have that fun Doctor Who sense as well. So it's really, I think it's perfect balance of light-hearted, fun Doctor Who and what a Dark Doctor story should be.
Yeah,
in terms of like,
I think when you bring on, especially by the end of that series, where you've basically got Missy as a sort of unofficial companion as well, and to have 12 Bill, Missy, and Nardole, it does work. And I think Nardole gets quite a good little send-off as well, where it's sort of implied that he is going to get caught eventually, but he's going to enjoy his life while he's still got it. And I like the way that Nardole is introduced first and then takes a bit of a back foot to establish Bill, and then they sort of become a trio, sort of after the, Monk trilogy and everything. It does work.
Yeah. And for me, that bit that makes it just that bit more emotional with everything that happens in World Enough in Time, where you have the flashbacks to Bill, like, you are going to look after me, aren't you? You're going to make sure nothing bad happens. And then you go back to the present time and you see there's a big gaping hole in her chest.
Yeah, so she's like,
and you can look right through it.
She's dead.
Yeah. I think that's just like, I think that just adds little layers to everything right at the end of the series, which I really like.
Yeah, and it gets tied up quite nicely at the end of that series, and then you just get that sort of weird epilogue.
Yeah.
Which I still am happy to believe in my head canon. It's a fever dream, just as the Doctor's regenerating.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
Yeah. And but then after Bill and Nardole, because that really did work, and that's the last solid companion grouping we have for a while.
2 words: Dan Lewis.
Yes, Dan Lewis is the only thing that held the Whittaker era together. And he was only in it for 1 series.
No,
and that's 9 episodes, and he was the best thing to come out of the Whittaker era.
It was in 9 episodes,
in my opinion.
And then walked out the next one within the first 10 minutes.
That was horrible.
No, that was just that wasn't. I
But
wouldn't really
then
fault the
that was
episode.
commitment. That was commitment issues. Yeah.
Yeah, well, scheduling issues. I don't think John Bishop's.
Yeah. Not commitment. Yeah.
But,
no. I'm not saying that. You know what I mean? But no, Ryan, Yaz, Graham was. I liked Graham. Bradley Walsh did a really good job, I thought.
Yeah, being Bradley Walsh, he's not playing. I don't really feel like I know who Graham is. He's just Bradley Walsh with a different name.
He was the best thing to come out of series 11 and 12, I think, out of companion wise, because Yaz has just got her asphyxiation for the Doctor. Ryan is about as compelling as my bloody desk, and Graham's the only one that they try to build character around. I felt with that whole, I'm worried that the cancer's coming back, and then they just derail it with the Doctor going, "Oh, I'm just socially awkward."
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what the accent was.
Did with you sounded sort of like you were from the Middle East there. I liked what they did with Ryan and Graham in terms of it's quite a nice. It's a unique idea. We've had like a husband and wife on the team. Why don't we have like a sort of, and we've had like the Doctor and his granddaughter. So why don't we have a sort of granddad, step granddad kind of dynamic? And it does work, and I like that it does sort of get tied off and stuff. But I just
like, yeah, that was really nice.
What it is because I struggle to see Graham as a character. He is like, it's not just me going, oh, it's Bradley Walsh. It's like he just doesn't really feel like he's playing. I've seen Bradley Walsh acting. He does have some great moments. Like, I'm not just saying he's all the time going like, oh, welcome to the chase and all that. But because I think what the detriment of it is that I don't feel anything towards Ryan other than just boredom. Like, he doesn't. I wouldn't even go as far as say I hate him because I don't care. Yeah, if you're gonna have a companion who walks around like he's had a botched lobotomy, that's your choice. Do you know what I mean?
And I think the one time they tried to give him any form of character development as well. I've been through the 2 series with him in just to try and before this, just to try and figure out where the hell they. Matt, yes, we are insulting Ryan Sinclair. He was terrible. The only time you see any real character development, Liam, we don't like Ryan.
This is for you, beer.
The only time you see any character development for Ryan is Orphan 55, and even then, it's just like a sprinkling. Yeah, it's just a sprinkling of development, no in-depth stuff. Just wham, there's a little bit. You got your cake, eat it. We're carrying on with the rest of this fiasco.
He literally goes over to her and tries to flirt with it by going, "Heard your dad's dead.
Sure.
My mum's dead."
Yeah.
Like, Riz.
Let's hang out. Yeah. Man's got better game than Arthur Treforest. He's got better game than Treforest.
For quality people, is it?
No, exactly.
No, I think then, Yaz is just sort of always there and doesn't really do anything. She has like Demons of the Punjab and stuff, but it's all just very surface level. Like, I'm a police officer, so I will go, "Stand back, sir," and talk like a police officer would. And you know, she has it.
They'd really drive that home.
Yeah, her character thing in Series 11 is going, "I have a family. I am interested in their history. Please, can I go and see it?"
Yeah,
but that's it.
And then you get that strange love arc as well between her and the Doctor, and it's just so obviously forced, and the Doctor just doesn't acknowledge any of it. It takes Dan to give that any form of development to make people want to see it. That is how bad that arc was. Is it took another companion, a new companion coming in to make that seem any bit relevant.
I do find Yaz much more bearable after sort of Series 12 when she actually does start doing. I mean, like I said, I don't do Doctor companion romances. I don't care that it's a gay romance. I couldn't give a fuck. I just don't like Doctor romances in general. And if you'd have gay companions, whatever, I'm fine. I don't feel like I can't believe we're actually in a world where we have to justify that. But you know what I mean? I just don't think the Doctor is for the reasons that they give during this arc of the Doctor going, I can't fix myself to one person forever. Because it'll always end up with them going first because of the lifespan difference, and
and it's understandable.
I think it was just a case of
I just wish they wouldn't touch on it.
Fans want, so we're gonna give it because it's never really. I don't really notice it until sort of Flux, because before that I didn't pick up on a hint of it, and everyone's going, "Oh, it's been
no me."
Start, and I'm like, has it? All right,
it hasn't.
Sort of they pick up on sort of things that could be coded. I mean, it's all open to interpretation. But for me personally, I didn't click with it until Flux.
No, nor me. I think the initial part where they get into the TARDIS, like, oh my god, look, think of the possibilities. There's that initial infatuation with the Doctor's character. It is what it is, but then it tend to die off. Look at Donna. She really loved the Doctor, just not in that way because she didn't want that. But I think equally she knew it wouldn't work in the long run, anyways.
I think she just
saw
him as a friend. To be fair.
Yeah, well, no, like that's what I'm getting at. It's like she'd rather have him as a friend. Yeah. Unfortunately, that got cut short. Cry.
I think I mean, I get that there's the whole thing when they first like officially become companions in Arachnids in the UK, where she's like, I want more of this, more of you and stuff. I didn't like that could easily be interpreted as her fancying the Doctor, but I just took it as like quite surface level because of all the Chibnall era stuff. Is just very surface level. So by this point, I was like, she is just saying that she wants more time with the Doctor and more time in the TARDIS having adventures.
Yeah.
I'm reading into it now, sure, but I just don't. Yeah, and I think that because they tie up in Legend of the Sea Devils, and there's still another episode, and they still sort of try and it's like weird. They're still hinting at things, even though we just discussed it in the episode before. So
yeah,
why are you still hinting at things when you've just tied it up? Because
just leave it. Yeah,
it was never really addressed, and after rewatching it, it actually was. It's tied up in Legend of the Sea Devils. But my issue now,
it was tied. It was tied up in Eve of the Daleks.
Well, they have that conversation in Legend of the Sea Devils, don't they? Where they, she's like, I can't.
Yeah, it was forced though.
Well, no, I mean,
I felt that was a bit.
It's a natural way of addressing it. You can't just have to drop something like this and then go, oh well, there we are. Like it does have to be addressed, and. It's a very natural reaction for this Doctor to have, but I think it's just pointless to tie everything up and then carry on hinting at it in the following episode. But
yeah, and then the power of the Doctor as well. It was a nice send off for both characters. I thought it was right for how the era was. I would say.
Yeah, I feel it's quite on brand for 13 to sort of have to be like, right, well.
I'm not saying goodbye, but
I'm still going to shut you out of all of this. Even towards the end now, after all of this, I'm still shutting you out. And Yaz just not even like to Yaz then just go, oh, okay. Because at that point, it should be the Doctor going, no, I need to do this on my own. And Yaz should be going, no, like, you need me as well. And like, we can help each other and all that. But it's just a case of, I need to do this on my own. And Yaz goes, yeah, sound.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
But no, the ending we got, the goodbye we got was very much that era.
And finally, the legend that is Dan Lewis.
Yes. Best thing to come out of the Whittaker era, as I've already said. Loved it. Birthed Evil Dan, for one, which Evil Dan is just something spectacular. But you've got a lot of character development in one episode with Dan, and it was a lot more than you got for Yaz and Ryan and Graham over the last two series.
Yeah, well, we said this at the time when we were watching it. We were like,
yeah,
I feel like I know more about Dan in like sort of 2-3 episodes of Flux than I did all about Graham and Ryan for 2 series. Because I remember when he was announced, John Bishop, and I thought, well, I like John Bishop, don't get me wrong, and I've seen him in a few, like, I think by that point I'd seen him in Skins and that other crime thing that he did, and thought, he's alright. Would I cast him as a companion? Maybe not, but I'll be open-minded, and we saw him, and I was like, alright, he's a bit cheesy in some places, but I think it almost works. I don't know why.
It did. It was like Catherine Tate. It was that right sort of mix of comedic relief with the serious stuff, because it wasn't all comedic stuff with him. It was a really healthy mix of the two, and the comedic stuff he did actually didn't feel forced. Like the rest of that series, the rest of the era, kind of the humor felt a bit more forced than it had done previously. And then you get to John Bishop, and it just felt a bit more natural, I thought. Anyways, but
yeah, I think when you've got like a comedian anyway, you sort of expect the funny stuff to be elevated that bit more. But
walks out for the boys.
What did you just say? What did you say?
Walks out the Santaro.
Walks
out for the boys.
I fully thought you just said cocks out there. I was like, where on earth did that come from?
Matt goes walks out for the boys in the chat.
Oh,
yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I genuinely just thought you were sitting here and go, cocks out for the boys. Like, where the fuck did that come from?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's look.
Yeah, I think, like I said, but there are some like really touching, like the stuff he had, like the scenes he has with Diane. You know, especially in his dream sequences in Once Upon a Time, where he's talking about his previous, not marriage, but like engagement, and
Yeah.
it's not like he's being, well, I was nearly married, but she didn't like me, ha 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 ha. It still feels quite organic. It's not like, it's not just pure exposition. Like, because you imagine Ryan doing that. I was engaged
Oh
once,
God.
but then the one day before she didn't want to be married to me, so then she left me, and now I'm very sad.
And I just sucked my thumb. I said I just
Ryan,
sucked. Yeah, that.
Yeah, I thought you would again. I
Yeah,
just thought
Orphan 55.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I think I've genuinely like had like the Men in Black round just to. I think I must have hired them one day just to come around and wipe Orphan 55 from my mind because. I remember.
Yeah, sadly, I didn't have that luxury. Yeah,
that'd be one for a drug commentary or something.
Yes, yeah, we'll do that one day. But favorite overall companion Doctor grouping. It can be a number of companions or just one companion with the Doctor. But overall, New Who and Classic. What's your favorite?
Oh, that's such a hard question. I can't pick just one. I can't. Oh, Jesus. I think for nostalgia reasons, I'll always love that initial Fifth Doctor team in the same way that I'll always love, like, Donna and the 10th Doctor, But then looking at it now, as I've got older, I do have a massive appreciation for the early TARDIS teams and... Oh, God, I don't know. Why do you always ask the difficult questions? Who would you pick? I'm going to
because... So... see, this is the problem. I ask these difficult questions, forgetting I get them backfired on me. So I'd be hard pressed to not include Ian, Barbara, and Susan with William Hartnell as the first ever companion grouping, just because of the work that went into getting the Doctor to the character we know and love today. They're very much the pioneer TARDIS crew for everything that we see now. Again, for the same reason as you, nostalgic reasons, Davidson, Waterhouse, and Nissa and Tegan. I forget the actors' names, but them four together really do work for me. And I would say I'm torn between Donna and Tennant and Capaldi and Bill. So I don't have a dead set favorite. I've just got like four groups. It goes against my own question, but I made the question. I make the rules. Yeah.
Who do you think?
No. No, I'd.
Like you're the boss.
I know. I'll go with Hartnell, Ian, Susan, and Barbara overall, just because of them being the workhorse group to get everything started to where it is now.
That's fair. Well, all right then. I'm gonna be a knob and say, who's your least favorite? And you can't say anyone from Jodie's era. Ha.
Bumhole. Capaldi and Clara.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's yours? Also, I've got a question for Matt as well. Here's the question: if all the companions new and old who were in the Hunger Games, who would win?
Leela.
Oh, Leela. Oh yeah, Leela.
Leela would absolutely just massacre everyone in there.
Yes, and not even blink. Between her and Ace, actually, I'd say.
I think
Ace would definitely be a final. Ace would definitely be in the final too. Maybe and then Jack it would just be one hell of a fight between the two. Maybe Jack, yeah. Jack's always intuitive.
Leela's in a natural environment there. She's killing people in the wild. Ace is like, if she runs out of Nitro 9 or a baseball bat gets nicked, like,
she's screwed. And Jack runs out of blasters.
Yeah, Jack's filled his arsehole up too much. I can't believe I just said that.
Right. Dan has unlimited woks, is what what Matt says. Dan and his unlimited woks.
All right, and I think we've evened the playing field a bit.
Yeah.
But I still think Leela and her Janus Thorns, all she needs is to just get that. Boom. She's won. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you'd be hard pressed to find it. I think people who would be like the first to go. That'd be the question. Because I can imagine like Ryan just stepping on a landmine or something.
Yeah. Yaz, the Doctor running it. Is the Doctor there as well?
No, it's just a companion.
No, just the companions. Susan would probably be one of the first to go as well. I think
Susan would fall over a brick and trip her ankle, snap her ankle,
and scream
again.
And have hell. Anyways, going back to the question you asked me, least favorite companion duo.
For me, it's either 12 and Clara or 6 and Perry.
No, that's fair. Yeah, that's two very poor ones. To be fair,
very good actors in their own right, but just I'm talking in terms of like the character dynamic and everything. Just it's not for me.
Yeah,
I think they're the sort of eras I watch the least. You know, I very rarely sit down and find myself watching a Colin Baker. Like I listen, if I'm in the mood for Colin Baker, even if I want to watch TV, I'll literally just put on a Big Finish and just sort of, even if it's like in the afternoon, because I can't.
Oh, you'd be stupid. You'd be stupid not to.
Yeah, there's only so many times
Big Finish is class.
Time Lord before you start tearing that to pieces in your own head, and I very rarely watch anything 8 and Clara related. 8 and Clara.
Yeah.
And Clara. Here's one more question before we finish. If you could like pick a Doctor to travel with a companion that they didn't travel with, who are you picking?
Who
do you think would be a good pair up?
Do you know what? Davidson and Catherine Tate.
She would eat him alive.
I'd find. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Just sheer entertainment value. Fifth Doctor with Donna Noble would be incredible. I generally think that would be a very good.
He's still traveling with like Tegan and Turlo as well.
Yeah. Oh, brilliant. Yes.
God, who would win the fight between Donna and Tegan? That's what I want to see.
There's only one way to find out. No, who would it be for you?
I mean, there's obvious ones to do just in terms of like fan wankiness. Like, I'd love to see sort of, I don't know, I'd see the Ninth Doctor meet Susan or something just daft like that. I think in terms of dynamically, I think the Third Doctor would have worked really well with Ben and Polly.
Yeah.
You know, if it sort of if it had been contemporary, I'd love to have seen Ben and Polly meet the Third Doctor. I think that would have worked. I don't know why it works well in my head, but it just does. I think maybe. Oh, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to pick like sort of try and pair up a classic and a new duo. Who would? I think.
Adam and Hartnell.
He just hit him with his walking stick and be done with it. Like he wouldn't have it. He no time to give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? I think. God, I don't know. I've set myself a really annoying question here now.
Yeah, I know how I felt with mine.
I think that. I'd love to see Jamie with the 12th Doctor just for a Scottish off.
Oh God, yeah, that would be brilliant. That would be comedic genius. That just in itself.
Have like an older Jamie with his memories like still not really there, and just for some reason have 12th Doctor land in Scotland again and meet Jamie.
Who the hell are you?
Yeah. Who the fuck is that guy? No, that's Irish.
No, but yeah, right. Oh, well, have you guys got a favourite Doctor? Yeah, that's been productive. Yeah. So have you guys got a favourite Doctor and companion duo that hasn't been seen that you'd love to get seen? Jock it in the comments below. I believe that's all from us today.
Yeah,
I've got to get to training. No, I've got to get to training. So thank you all for coming by. It's been a pleasure. These are going to happen a lot more often because I really enjoyed doing this format sometimes as well. It's a nice mix, isn't it?
Yeah, it means I don't have to have you sat in my house all the time, which is nice.
Cheeky git.
No, I'm joking. They are going to be happy because obviously now we are, I'm going to be
very busy.
Soon. You're going to be moving soon. You're about to start a new job. I've just started a new job, so we might not always have time to set aside sort of hours of my week to film and edit as well. But that doesn't mean it's always.
Yeah,
It's... We'll probably do a video next. We don't need to sort it out what we do next week, but yeah, it's not always going to be.
No,
like
we'll
this.
figure
It's
something
just
out.
something a bit different. It's just.
Yeah,
Fun.
and it's nice. It's a nice change. Anyways,
sort of
thank you all for
down these recordings and put them out as condensed versions so people, because this has been an hour and 45 minutes and that's a lot.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But anyways, thank you all for coming by. It's been a pleasure. I hope you have a very nice evening wherever you are. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe because you're legends.
Yeah, and like I said, if we can, we are gonna sell Tom to Disney, so we can get money for an 8th Doctor series.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I got to shoot. So have a good evening, guys.
Bye.
And Will, enjoy your food.
I will. I'm making a curry.
Ta-ra, guys. Oh, you get.